Hey guys, it's Sam with 2Ms and welcome to this MYXclusive interview. As you guys can see, I have a very special guest here with me. She's an awesome alternative pop rock artist who I'm so excited to talk to today about so many things, her music, but also whatever she's been up to. So everyone, please welcome WRENN.
Hi guys.
Hi WRENN, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Yes, we're so excited to have you. How have you been? I know there's been a lot of things going on. I'm sure even on your side of the world. So how have you been?
I've been really good. Definitely the pandemic hit everyone super hard. This has been really crazy, obviously, because the success that I've had recently just through the internet is be able to create things like this, So I've kind of found a weird way to integrate everything through the pandemic. It's been difficult, but I've just made the best out of it.
Definitely. I feel like that's all of us trying to make the best out of kind of everything that's been going on. And I know you've been doing a lot of music during this time, but aside from that, like what are the things that you've kind of picked up on, or like maybe new hobbies that you've kind of picked up? Because you know how we all had our own kind of coping mechanisms and started getting into new things. Is there anything new that you tried out during this time?
Yeah, actually, my two main things I picked up archery. So I got really into archery.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, I bought like a really terrible little plastic bow off Amazon, and now I've gone all the way up to, I've custom made my own bow that I worked with this one incredible, woodworker. So we've made our own custom recurve bow that I've been working on a lot. Set up like my own little archery thing outside of my house here. And then I got really into robotics as well, because I've coded for a long time. That's kind of, I did virtual reality for a long time. So I got into 3D printing and coding tiny little robots that I was basically making like run around the house for a while.
That is so cool. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's been really cool.
Yeah, like of all the people I've interviewed in the past year, I feel like you have the most like very unique kind of like things you picked up. Yeah, like archery and like oh my God, that's so cool. I feel like that's really different from like things I've heard in the past, because normally I hear like, oh, I bought a plant or something like that. But yeah, it's like archery. I love that so much. Kind of badass.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been really crazy.
Yeah, so that's so cool that you're able to pick up those new hobbies too, but also balancing that with your music. And like I said a while ago, you've had a lot of success, especially in the last year, especially with Haley, which is crazy because everything was happening during a pandemic where you couldn't really see other people and like the fans and all of that. So how was that for you, kind of dealing with everything like Haley blowing up and like just really seeing everyone loving it through the internet?
Yeah, when I say overnight, it really was overnight. And I've heard people say that before, and I've kind of been like, okay, yeah, whatever. But it really was, I posted the song and overnight there were 9 million new people that had seen it. And it just completely, it changed my life completely. It's been such a mind-blowing experience being able to speak to people from like all over the world. And it's just, yeah, I'd had like some small success before, but it's so vastly different. And just the amount of people that I've like now connected with, and the audience that I now have on these new platforms like TikTok and like even, Instagram, like a little point. It's so crazy because I feel like the entire world was shut down, and yet I was able to kind of like get into everybody's like homes, through your phone. Like that was really something that became accessible. It's insane. Now I hear some people telling me like certain videos that I made and songs that how that became part of their like pandemic coping, so that's really interesting to be like, while we were all at home, I was still kind of like integrated with people, which is something I never expected. Ever.
Actually, yeah, that is kind of crazy. Like, it's not something that you just kind of expect to happen, but it did happen. And for you, like overnight, 9 million. 9 million is no joke. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy to grasp too for me just hearing it now. But to have the kind of reach that you have is also really cool. And what were you kind of like when you posted Haley on online? Like what were kind of like your thoughts like going into that? Like you're just I'm just gonna share it with everyone, and then waking up the next day kind of like, oh my God, it's actually like so many people.
Well, it had a really cool kind of cyclical moment, because Haley I'd written about getting out of like a really bad kind of abusive relationship, and I had kept those feelings really close to me for a long time. Anyone that's ever gone through that knows how hard it is to kind of, it takes a lot of time to work through it. And the day that I released it was the day I was moving out of my apartment basically when I got out of that bad relationship, I moved into an apartment to get away. It was kind of like my safe haven. And so the day that I was moving out, it was a very emotional day for me. And that happened to be the day that I posted that song. And the fact that that song blew up in my last day at this place that I felt super safe in, just kind of reaffirms that, like, okay, like I'm moving on to a new chapter, but like this is really a release, you know. It was just so cyclical to like all of a sudden see like, wow, the place that I felt the safest with, like from this terrible relationship that I'm scared to like move out of, now other people have finally like heard my story and they're so supportive. Like the first time that I played it live was on a TikTok live, sitting on the floor of that empty apartment the night it blew up, and just being like, what the heck? Yeah, it was the craziest. It was really, really amazing.
Yeah, and I love the kind of like turnaround. It's also like actually like it was like kind of quick, but also I love that, you know, you said that it was something that you were afraid of, like that space that you were in is kind of afraid to get out of, but like through this it kind of really, I can imagine, helped you deal with all of that, which I think is such a crazy thing. Music, such an amazing thing. And now in turn people are also kind of relating to your song to people who might be going through the same kind of thing. So how does that feel, like people all around the world that you've never met kind of like are able to relate to your music too?
I mean, it was really, I keep saying it's crazy, but it is. I mean, even till this day, the song came out, you know, 6 months ago now, I still get, you know, 10, 20 messages a day of people that have just heard the song that somehow can relate to it in certain points. And some of them are really intense and traumatic, and they're telling me their whole story. Some of them are much more lighthearted, but it's just the amount of people and the type of people and everything that have been able to relate to the song is like a lot more than I even thought it was going to be in the first place. And that, yeah, it's been a really crazy experience, and it just keeps going, you know? It's like, I keep being like, okay, it's gonna hit a wall, it's gonna stop. And yet it still continues to grow and change. And there's like already more stuff that I'm about to do for Haley too, which is crazy. You know, it just kind of feels, yeah, it's just like I've lived with this now, and it's now become such a part of my story, and it just continues to become part of other people's story, which is, I never knew I could like create something like that would continue to do so.
Definitely. And I think it's so intricate in the way that you describe that, like kind of the more it grows, the more it really kind of seeps into the lives of other people too, and even yours, which is so cool. But I also do want to ask, since it's your first time here, we would love to know how you actually got started with music, since you do have a lot of different interests too. Like a while ago, you mentioned that, you know, you were coding for a while too. So when was it, like, when did you decide like music was something that you really wanted to do?
I mean, music was always something that I was really passionate about for a long time. I was actually a jazz major, and then I was a classical major. So I played jazz guitar for a long time. I was a jazz vocal major. I competed in like Monterey, opened for Esperanza Spalding. Like that was I was a classically trained musician, you know. And then the kind of indie music kind of started taking over. I've been writing songs all of my life, but kind of when I went into college, and I was there for about a year. I went to New York for about a year, and then I had some like crazy, you know, some like, the college I went to wasn't great. My psychiatrist ended up being insane and like, you know, trying to kill me. I'd like come back to LA. Like I had to go into like a rehab program. Like it just, everything became so intense that music was the only thing that I could do to kind of release all of this, because it was so much so quickly. You know, I come from a very musical family, and that was always something I wanted to do. And then it was just kind of like, I was just suddenly forced to be like, okay, I either have to like write music or I can't. It kind of just felt like I was going to wring out a sponge. Like there's all this emotional stuff that was building up. Yeah, I mean, it's always been a part of it. And then obviously, you know, I was definitely more of a struggling musician for a long time. And you know, I got into coding and augmented reality and virtual reality, and that's still something that I love to do. But this is kind of, now I can actually like focus on doing music like full time, which is wild. I've never thought that would be like something I'd be able to do right now at this point in my life, especially during like a pandemic. But yeah, it's just always been part of it.
Cool. I mean, like with the whole story that I was like, wow, that's a lot of things that you kind of went through. And, you know, it just goes to show, like, I mean, as cliche as it sounds, like things really do happen like in their own time. I mean, like you've had music all around you ever since you were younger, and you went through all of these experiences. So that's really cool that music was one of the things that, I mean, was the thing that you could lean on during all of that. And that's so cool. But I do want to know, like, what became the switch for you that kind of, like you said, you went into coding and all of that, and now it's like you really know that music was like the thing that you want to do. So what was like that switch that was like, okay, this is really what I'm going to do for the rest of my life?
I remember, you know, that exact switch. I remember one night I was working, you know, because I was kind of around 18 is when I started doing a whole bunch of music, and I came back to LA, and, you know, it was kind of like, okay, I have to either try to make money, I have to try to make music. And I was doing both at the same time, but it's very, you know, it's really difficult. And I remember one time I got a job I don't know, maybe 3 years ago. That was this big coding job. And I remember I was in my room in my parents' house up for, I don't even know, 15 hours working on this thing. And I'm just sitting there and like crying, trying to get through this code and stepping back and be like, hey, I don't want to, like, I love doing this in my free, like I love augmented reality, I love virtual reality, but there's somebody else that's more passionate about this that will want to sit here for 15 hours and be so hyped about it. And I was like, what's the one thing that I want to do that's that? And that was music, you know, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to try really, really hard. And that's also kind of right before Haley blew up too. I'd been, you know, trying with the whole TikTok thing and I was feeling super disheartened. And I gave myself the same thing. I was like, hey, give yourself like 2 more months, just give it as hard as you can and see what happens. And when I did that when I was 18 is I got this huge national tour that I went on. And when I did this time is when Haley blew up. It's just, you know, kind of giving yourself being like, okay, you really do have to just kind of decide that switch, being like, it's going to be, I'm going to give it all and it's going to work or it's not, you know, and normally it does if you really try.
Yeah, I love, and we're so thankful that you really took that switch and you really ran with it. I mean, because life would have been so different if you, you know, didn't do that and you didn't like commit to that kind of decision, and we wouldn't have songs like Haley and also your newest single, which is Your Friends Like Me Better. I mean, we couldn't imagine a world without you and like the music that you share with
That's
us.
So sweet.
Yeah, but it's so true, right? Like those little decisions really impact so many things and so many people, even without us knowing. But now I do want to talk about your newest single, which is Your Friends Like Me Better. So could you tell us more about, I mean, I love the title of the song. I don't know why. Like, I feel like we've all felt this at one point in our life, but could you tell us more about what the song is actually about and what inspired it?
Yeah, I mean, so kind of the origin of it, and when Haley blew up, it blew up very unexpectedly, you know, and I kind of realized too, like, oh, you know, a lot of the stuff that I've been afraid about talking about for a long time, which is this kind of like trauma around relationships and feeling confident and feeling like, you know, whatever, screw it, I'm going to do what I want. You know, I was working with a producer for a long time who wouldn't let me do that, and I felt kind of insecure about it, and then just going for it, I saw it work. So I was like, this new song was something else about kind of more in that vein. I was, you know, I was dating somebody over the pandemic who I thought was going to be like the person for me that I went for it. I was in it. I was like, this is it. I'm done. This is, you know, this is all it. And they, you know, they really, really talked me into it. I was really in it. And then at the very end, they just dropped me out of the blue. And it was so painful and cruel, and I had just given so much to it. And now stepping back, I realized like they have their own things going on. I'm not mad at them, but at that point that I wrote that song, I was furious.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was just kind of me being like, hey, you know, because a lot of our friends like knew both of us, and when that kind of fell apart, they were like, you know, I'm not going to say it too much because I don't want to like talk badly on anybody, but I mean, that song and kind of the record that I've been working on is kind of the elevated version of all of these feelings that I've wanted to feel. That's like, hey, you know, like, screw you. Like, this is how I feel. I want to be confident in this. Like, I'm not going to put up with this anymore, because I think for so long, I was just kind of a doormat. I just let people kind of walk all over me all the time. And I'm just done. I'm just done with it, you know? And I think that was like, I wasn't allowed to make the music that I wanted to make. I wasn't allowed to say what I wanted to say. And now I'm doing so. And it's just, the response to it has been so positive because people also want to feel that way. You know, it's just being unapologetically just, I guess yourself, but I mean, like in the way of,
I love that. I mean, as someone who has a lot of angst too, as someone, you know, like you kind of just want to let it out. And I feel like the kind of music you make really reminds us that, you know, it's healthy to let all of these feelings out, you know, with music. Because I feel like sometimes when we bottle these things up, it can be really like, obviously troubling for a lot of us. But the fact that, you know, you took that kind of experience and you made it a song, even though like that experience was, you know, it sucked, but like you turned it into a song, and now like people are like vibing to it and also feeling the kind of same thing that you felt. I feel like it's such a beautiful thing, and I love that you you know, really said like, you know, unapologetically yourself through this song, and I love that so much. So can you tell us more about what was it like creating the song and the kind of sound that you wanted for this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think the pandemic really did help a lot, because it just kind of made me be like, hey, I'm done apologizing for being angry. I think especially as a woman too, I know a lot of times when like I would be really upset about something and I'd get emotional, I'd make art out of it. People would be like, oh, you know, you're being, you know, really rude or whatever. You know, it was just, I always felt really bad for finally just kind of being like, screw you, I'm going to write what I want to write. And the pandemic kind of put me in a position being like, you know what? who cares? Because the people that like me are gonna like me. That's it. I'm done trying to please people that don't like me. Like, you don't like me, that's fine, whatever. And I think this song was just kind of like all of those feelings put together, because, you know, I think there was a lot of heightened emotions during the pandemic, especially when I was seeing somebody that it just kind of came out in just, I mean, I wrote it in like 10 minutes. I was just done.
Oh, wow.
You know, and this entire EP that I've been working on over the pandemic are kind of all of those feelings. And it's a lot more like kind of like revenge based, but, you know, not in a toxic way. It's just more like it's revenge for me. It's so I feel better. It's so I'm like, you know, feel more confident again. And the people that I used to work with, you know, production wise and music wise, like, wouldn't let me be more pop centric. They thought it was cheap, or they thought it was inauthentic. And I think for a long time I thought that as well. If it's more pop leaning, it's inauthentic. Like, you have to be. And now I'm like, no, I like good pop music. I write good pop music, and people like it, you know, and there's nothing inauthentic about that, you know. And so I think this record is a lot more pop leaning than anything I've ever done before. And it really was an entire recreation of my sound, my look. And I think I've been going this way for a long time, but I've never really had the freedom or the time to do so. But I mean, that's what it is. It's the best music that I have made, because it is the most accurate to what I've actually wanted to feel, and no one's stopping me anymore. I'm working with the best people, and it's just exactly what I want it to be.
Oh my God, I love this energy so much. Like, I just love this whole, like, whatever, I'm gonna do what I want. I mean, if it's me, you know, just me doing me, I feel like, you know, that's something you can't apologize for. But I feel like, you know, to get to that kind of place, it takes a lot to get to that kind of like place where you're confident and you really want to do the stuff that you really want to do. So how did you kind of get there to that point that you were like, okay, I'm just gonna do what I want. I don't really mind what other people have to say.
I mean, I think I still definitely do care a lot. I'm someone who cares consistently all the time about what people think. And I mean, I still do, but I think what the pandemic kind of showed me was you just have to do it. Even if you don't feel like it, you know, if you feel like, oh God, these people are going to hate me anyways, whatever, just put it out there, just do it. Just show yourself that you can. You know, I think there's so many times where I'm like worried, oh, this person doesn't like me, or if I put this out, they're going to think this way of me. And it's like, do I actually even like them? Do I even actually care? You know, and I think that was kind of one of the biggest things, is like, I was worrying so much about what people thought about me that I didn't even really care about, you know. And I think that in itself, acknowledging that feeling, makes you feel like, okay, you're never going to please everybody. You're never going to be the best. You're probably not even going to please yourself all the time. Just do it. Just put it out there. Because when I look back on the times when I was younger and I spent so much time worrying about what people thought, and I delayed putting things out, the only thing it did was delay putting it out. You know, it didn't change the reaction people had. It didn't change the reaction I had. It just was me worrying a lot more of the time. So, you know, I'm still definitely working on that consistently. You know, I took the last couple weeks off of TikTok just because I got too into, like, again, worrying what people thought and all this stuff. And now, like, the next 2 weeks, I'm coming back like hardcore with a whole bunch of like really cool stuff. And I was able to like concentrate and actually go back into it and centralize. But I mean, yeah, it's just do it. I mean, that's literally what it is. Do it. If people don't like it, then like, congrats, there's a million other people in the world, and there's other people that are gonna like you. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Especially like you taking that whole step back from TikTok. I feel like, because, you know, it's so easy to get lost in the noise of everything, especially on TikTok. I mean, I've also been there, but that's so cool that you were able to kind of take a step back, and now you're like, what's up? I'm back. I'm so much stronger than before. And I feel like that's so inspiring too for a lot of people now to kind of just like let it out there. You know, a lot of us are so scared to let it out there, but I feel like you're one of the fine examples of, you know, letting it out there and just sharing it with the world, which makes me so excited for the EP that you're working on too. Like you mentioned, that, you know, that's like the whole culmination of a lot of the feelings that you've had. So I'm sure you've had a lot of personal growth too while creating the EP, especially sorting out through all of these emotions and all of these feelings. So what would you say was like the biggest thing you learned about yourself while working on the EP?
I think the biggest thing I learned, I think, while working on the EP was also like the entirety of quarantine is I think it's just that I like myself. I think before quarantine, coming out of that really toxic relationship, you know, kind of being broken down by so many people for so long, both personally and creatively, I think not only did I not like myself, but like I didn't really know myself anymore. And I think it was a really cool thing. While the pandemic, I was kind of forced to be with myself. I kind of re-met a lot of parts of myself that I was like, oh, right, I liked this and I don't do it anymore. And like, this was something that I liked about myself that was just beaten out of me by people that were jealous of it or angry. And I think that making this album and being angry and unapologetic and kind of yelling at those people for things that I've done for, you know, years and years, it's just like I found parts of myself that I like again. And that's taken a long time because the person that I was gone. She wasn't here anymore. And I feel like I'm kind of still finding that person again. I didn't realize how much of myself was gone. You know, it's just, I think that's been the coolest thing is as I've gotten angry and kind of more like, I don't care anymore. I've found parts of myself again that I think I've just lost even years ago. And I think that's been the most comforting and exciting thing. And it also shows me that I am on the right path to do like musically what I've wanted to do for a long time, because it's making me like feel and find things that I haven't in a very long time.
Oh, I love that. Like rediscovering yourself again. Like, I mean, that's such a great, but also trippy experience I could imagine too.
Oh, yeah.
It kind of like, yeah, for sure. So now that, you know, you've kind of rediscovered yourself, like you said, how would you describe you now, like, especially WRENN as an artist, in comparison to like WRENN before the pandemic?
Like I said, I'm a lot more unapologetic now. I know what I want and I'm not afraid to get it anymore. The people, and I think because of that, like the people in my life right now are the best people I've ever had. I'm in a great relationship. I am with, you know, people that are just so supportive, and I can support everyone else now. I'm just excited. I'm excited for myself, and I'm excited for everybody around me, which I think is kind of difficult also as an artist sometimes. And people that say it's not, like, it's always been difficult to try to like support people sometimes. And I think now that I feel supported, that's the biggest difference. I'm just excited for my future, and I'm excited for everybody else's future. And it's just, there's just such a forward trajectory that I haven't seen in a long time, both musically and personally. I can see a future that's not, you know, upsetting, I guess, you know.
And that makes, yeah, for sure. And that makes us so excited for your future, especially the music too that you're putting out. Because like you said, you know, it's very unapologetically you. And I'm so excited for it. So what can we expect from the EP, especially that, you know, you've been working on it for quite some time?
Well, one really exciting thing is we're doing a full-on like Haley remix that has two absolutely incredible artists on it as well that are going to be featuring. I'm really excited about that. One's going to be really sick. Yeah, that's going to be amazing. You know, I took a little bit off before I did the remix, before I did the music video, because we've got a couple remixes coming. We've got a music video coming. We've got a different kind of video coming. I will say, like, a little exclusive, the music video does look like it's going to actually feature Haley, which will be great, because now me and her we're okay now, because of the song. So I'm, you know, I kind of wanted to wait a little bit before I did these videos, because it's about to, like, you know, Haley now has a much longer future than I thought it was going to be with the remixes and the videos and all that. So I'm really excited for all of that. And then also, you know, there's a couple songs on this record that I'm really excited about. One that I've leaked on TikTok that that has gotten like a couple million views already, that people are really hyped about. Yeah, I mean, it's just, there's a lot of stuff that I'm really excited about. It's just the best music that I've written so far, and it's kind of the first actual chapter in what I feel like I am as an artist. Like the other stuff that before has been like, oh, it's cool, but I feel like this is actually the first thing ever. It's also my first EP or album I've ever put out ever too. So it is like the first chapter.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. You dropped so many like things. Like now we have so many things. Yeah. I love it. It's not like a little sprinkles, but it was a lot of sprinkles. You know what I mean? Very generous with the sprinkles. So we're so excited for everything that you have planned. I mean, besides the fact, of course, like, you know, this is something that you love so much, and we can see how passionate you are about everything you do. So we are so excited for that, and we can't wait for all of the releases that you have in terms of music videos, and just everything that you have planned. And, you know, we also can't wait for when everything is okay and you can come over to our side of the world.
I would love to.
Yes, we would love to have you. I promise you, we sing so well, so we got you. We will sing back to you.
I know.
Unlike any other, I mean, no hate to all the other countries, but the Philippines, immaculate voice. But do you have a message while we're all waiting for that time? Do you have a message to all of the Filipino fans who, you know, are loving your music and supporting you?
I will say this, Haley, like, besides the US, the Philippines is one of the first countries for Haley to chart in. Before Haley, the Filipino fans that I've had have been some of the most supportive, incredible people ever. My first ever fan page was made by 2 beautiful Filipino girls. Like, it has been such ingrained. Like, you guys have been incredible since the very, very beginning. That's why, like, when my manager reached out, being like, they want to interview, I was like, yes. I was like, hell yeah, that's so cool. No, you guys have been just like consistently so incredible even before Haley. So yeah, I mean, that's like one of my first destinations when I finally get out there. You know, my first real ever fan that I ever had, this girl Angel, we still are friends. Like, on her birthday, I still send her merch every year. Like, it's just, you know, it's just become so part of who I am, is like the tapestry of like my fans, and who I am have been so many like Filipino fans. So yeah, it's really cool, man. It's been really, really awesome. And I just like, thanks. And I cannot wait to get out there and play Haley and have everybody sing. It's gonna be so sick.
Yes, it's gonna be so fun. I'm already telling you, I'm hyping it for you now. It's gonna
Oh
be
my gosh.
amazing. And we can't wait for the day when that's finally gonna come. I mean, for sure it's gonna come one day, but we have to savor all of your music online for now. So to everyone watching, don't forget to stream all of RENN's music. It's available on multiple digital streaming platforms, especially when you want to get all of your feelings out. This is the best and healthiest way to do so. So make sure to stream that. Thank you, Wren, so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been so fun.
Yes, it was so much fun getting to know you and your music. So thank you, and we can't wait till we get to see you in the Philippines. But for now, we have to say goodbye.
Can't wait.
Yes, we can't wait at all. But thank you so much to everyone who tuned into this MYXclusive interview. And of course, thank you, Wren, for joining me today. This has been Sam with 2 M's and Wren for this MYXclusive. Bye, guys.
Bye.